Hi guys, Claudia, Boleyn here. I am making a video today that isn't actually about mental health stuff, but it kind of is, so I'm trying to keep up some daily vlogs because they're helping me a lot. But it's a society thing, and to me they're all linked. I know it's the same for a lot of you guys as well, where I think I've spoken about before, where sometimes if you come from trauma, dysfunction, abuse, etc., like a power imbalance, it makes you quite emotionally connected to injustices and things. And like, some people see that as a negative thing, but to be honest, I just think, like, if any good can come out of bad, if you can take any good out of something bad that's happened, then, you know, that's something that we can cling to and say that, okay, well, there was an injustice and maybe we weren't advocated for, etc., but, you know, we can change that, and us caring about those things in some ways doesn't fix it, but, I don't know, it means we can try and prevent further stuff from happening, I guess. I try and think there must be a point to it, because otherwise it's very depressing otherwise, isn't it? But I'm just concerned about, okay, so I'm in the UK, so I know a lot of you guys are in the UK, but some of you guys watch from, like, all over the world. I'm just really concerned about the mood of this country right now. I mean, I have been for a while. Like, I've noticed that it's like, I think I've said in political videos before that it seems to be heading more towards fascism, nationalism. It kind of went patriotism, nationalism, and then headed towards fascism, and like, you could kind of see it happening, like with Brexit. And I'm not saying that Brexit itself was like racist or anything like that, but there was certainly, like, in order to get Brexit to happen, I think certain politicians used concerns and hatred against, like, immigrants and things like that, so it kind of got stirred up. I often think that's the way of it. Like, that's the thing that really upsets me so much, is that I think that a lot of people who are quite high up have their own agendas, and then they will just use people's feelings and their worries and their hatreds and turn them on each other. And they don't care about what that means for different groups. Like, they don't care, they just get what they want out of it, and that's fine. But it's been happening for a while, and I don't know, I think maybe it has something to do with COVID. Maybe COVID has slightly desensitized people. I mean, I know it was bad before, but it just feels like it's getting worse and worse. So I saw a video yesterday on Twitter of a protest. So in Britain, I don't know much about, like, the actual context, it's not really about that, but there were some protesters sitting in the road, and I will play the video in this in a minute, I'll just describe it quickly. There were some protesters sitting in the road, they're blocking a road, a woman's trying to get her kid to school, so she's angry at them for being in the road. She kind of has a go at them, they won't move out the road. And then she gets back into her car and actually drives at them, like, to the point where she's actually impacting them and pushing them with the car. And one of the protesters, I believe, starts crying. Like, the onlookers are, like, calling them... It's got really foul language in it, so I think I'll probably take the language out. But, like, they're quite rude to these women. And, like, seeing that in itself was quite horrible, really. Like, it's quite horrible, but doesn't really cover it. I mean, that's someone using their car as a weapon against peaceful protesters. Anyway, I'll show you the video.
That's it! Push him up the road!
She's gonna hit you.
Come on, I need to go! Push him up the road!
I'm not joking, my son needs to get to school.
Push him up the road!
Move out the way now!
She's gonna punch her up, mate. Punch her up!
My son is 11 and he needs to get to
Punch
school!
her up!
My son is 11, he needs to get to school and I need to get to work! So move out the way then! Move out of the way and let me get my son to school! Let me get my son to school!
Hey, look, that's it! That's it! Push her! Go on! Push her! Get out the road, you sit there!
Someone needs to move mum out the way!
But the responses to it have scared me, like, actually scared me. I'm not saying that to be dramatic, they've actually scared me. I thought that the responses on it would be, oh, it's so annoying that they're in the road, but she shouldn't have hit them with the car. But people were saying, like, oh, she should have put her foot down, like, she should have run over them. It's their fault for being in the road. What are they in the road for? Like, get rid of them. They're being a nuisance. Like, run them down. Do it. Like, I would have run them down. They deserve it. And oh my gosh. I mean, I think that protest is, like, such an important thing. Like, I spoke before about, like, the new police bill, which seeks to criminalise protest, which is annoying. Which bothers me, because as a concept, protest has to be annoying and slightly disruptive. And I know it can be really inconvenient. Like, I mean, like, I think there's like some sort of, I haven't been well, so I'm not keeping up with this stuff, I'm sorry, but like I know there's been some sort of strike or something going on around like film sets or something, so some of the Disney Plus shows are getting pushed back or something, and obviously emotionally I'm thinking, oh, gutted. Like I like my Disney Plus shows, but also like the other part of me is saying, well, no, people deserve working conditions, and also like if people in a work environment, like they have a right to protest, like, even if it's inconvenient for us, like, and sometimes it will be, if we actually think about like most of the rights we have, I mean, how do people think they were won? Like, protest is inherently something that's got to be annoying and disruptive, and I don't mean that everyone who protests is right, like, etc., etc., but the fact that like violence against peaceful protest is normalised, encouraged, and that was the majority of the responses, shocked me, I think. Like, I knew that some people felt that way, but I don't think I'd grasped the scale, and I wonder if it's to do with COVID. Like, I wonder if people are getting desensitised, because, you know, how surreal it was, and I still can't really get my head around the fact that when COVID happened, like, we were in lockdown, and then every day Boris Johnson would be doing his roundup speech, and they would put the new number of deaths on the screen. It was just... I don't really think many of us have processed that yet. I really do think it's weird. It's one of those things, isn't it, that you don't expect is going to happen in your lifetime. But you always imagine something like that's going to be really dramatic when you think about stuff from the past. But it kind of makes you realise that very few things in life are dramatic. Like, these things are incredibly mundane. And when you're in them, you just kind of feel numb, and it's like you don't even really feel it until later. I don't know, it taught me a lot going, you know, all of us going through that, and the way people processed it, about how people will adapt to pretty much anything, really. Like, people will just adapt. Like, but it just scared me. Like, there's no empathy. Like, there's no... that really frightens me. I don't mean, like, I know there's obviously some people who genuinely can't feel empathy, but they're not bad people. Like, obviously, if you're someone who, you know, if someone's been in a bad situation, etc., like, some people find that really hard, but, like, those people are still able to be kind, you know, they're still not cruel people. When I say empathy, like, I don't mean it, like, as in people who literally, like, can't do that because of certain reasons. You know, you're still kind people. But as in, like, so many people can't... Those were people. Like, they were people in the road. Peaceful people sitting in the road. And I don't care how annoying they were. They're people. Like, they're people. And they're like, oh, run them over. Like, all this anger. It just horrifies me. And it's... I just don't understand it. I don't understand what goes on in people's heads. Like, how can people be so detached from their humanity and the humanity of others? We're all, like, surely we all know and understand that every one of us has, like, a rich inner life and fears and dreams, and every single person on this earth is that full person inside their head who will feel things with the intensity that we do. It just scares me. It really, really scares me. It's like, there was a woman on Jeremy Vine the other day arguing that we should let refugees, asylum seekers, etc. drown if they come over to our country on a dinghy. We should let them drown legally. Like, that should be the law. Like, we should not be rescuing them because it serves as a deterrent. And that shocked me anyway, the fact that it's actually become a debate topic, because I know some people think like that, but this was being debated on Jeremy Vine, and Jeremy Vine was sitting there all complicitly, like, oh, that's a bit far, I mean, what if it was a child? Like, but I get what you're saying, and I can't believe I saw it. I can't believe I saw that being argued on TV so confidently, and worse, that the people, like, agreed. It doesn't matter if it's a child or not. It's a person. You can't just let a person... How can you let a person drown? If you have the power to do that safely, to help somebody safely, how can you... I don't understand it. Like, the way people think about refugees and asylum seekers, it's just luck where you're born. None of us choose what the family we're born into, the situation we're born into, the country we end up in, like, our culture. Like, we just are. We don't earn that. That's something that I find really weird about patriotism. Like, I keep trying to figure out in my head if patriotism can be a good thing. I think the furthest I think it can go is a love for your country, in the sense that you want to make it better for everyone, make it more equal, make it more diverse. I can understand that, but even then, I kind of struggle with I just don't really, as a personality, I've never really got the idea that you, I just don't get it. Like, when it's just luck where you live. It's pure luck. People that are proud of their country, I don't get it. I don't know. I can understand being proud of like a culture and a heritage, and especially in the face of oppression or something. But for so many people, it becomes, I don't know. I feel like if people did it healthily, it wouldn't be so bad. But so often it gets into that nationalist place, that place where it's like, okay, we're proud, don't disrespect Britain, we're the best. And because you've got to elevate yourself, someone else has got to be othered and pushed down because you're elevating yourself as a group. That's just psychology. Like, if you're elevating a group, you're pushing, like, another group is kind of pushed down, right? And I don't mean, like, in terms of, like, some people argue that, like, for example, feminism is, like, is pushing down men, because that's trying to bring people to an equal level. Like, I understand trying to bring people to equality. But when it comes to, like, nationalism in this sense, and, like, this was true in 30s Germany. Like, I did a lot of research on this because I wrote a novel some time ago about 1930s Germany, which will not be finished or published for a long time because so much stuff has changed and there's so much more that I want to say in that, I think. Like, definitely a lot more research I want to do on that. But I researched that a lot, and you can see how that happens. You know, you can see that it comes out of a difficult financial situation. People who should be allies are turned against each other by the people at the top. They need another, they need a villain. The people at the top know that they're in danger because they know that technically if the people realise things were corrupt, then they'd be in trouble. So they start, right, okay, let's play on their fears, let's make them think there's not enough to go around, let's let them fight over the scraps. And obviously in 1930s Germany, like, you know what they did, like, you know, they blamed Jewish people. It's really sick. And you know what they ended up doing to gay people, socialists, travellers, disabled people. I mean, and people say that it's lazy to make analogies with things like Nazi Germany. Like, I use it quite a lot because it's one of those things that I have knowledge on because of the research. So it's like an easy reference point for me. Obviously different situations and different societies have different ways that these things happen. But like in a kind of general, like, psychology sense, I see the same patterns here. I'm not trying to say that, like, I'm not trying to say that it's like Nazi Germany here, but I'm trying to, like, the patterns, the atmosphere that allowed that to happen is technically happening here. Like, that, the atmosphere is happening. So that just, it worries me a lot. It really, really worries me. I don't understand why people don't care about each other. Like, there's a thing, like, obviously, I care a lot about, I became quite interested in finding out about, you know, obviously the Israel and Palestine thing. So I really, like, did a lot of research into that. I wanted to know, like, what was what, and you know, I follow a lot of people from the Gaza Strip, and I just, what I see there is, it's like, I don't mean this, like, specifically as well. Like, it's not specifically like the Israeli government. Like, you see it in different movements around the world, but just in this example that I'm thinking of. Like, Gaza is full of children. Like, Gaza is there's so many children in Gaza. And Palestine is not, like, protected. Like, it doesn't have the protection. And they were getting bombed every night. It was against international law and they were getting bombed, but the scary thing was, like, there were all these videos coming out of, like, children being abused by the soldiers, checkpoints, women being, like, abused, and every day, like, these people who are they're just us. Like, they could be us. Why don't people see that? Well, I don't understand. Like, they're just people like us, and it's like, so what I don't understand about, like, wars and things like that, like, Tony Blair's been on the TV a lot recently, and when we think about what happened, you know, with the war in Iraq, the loss of lives, our soldiers that died, and also the people of Iraq who suffered terribly, terribly. And it's like, if in this country we see someone as an outsider, we cut off our empathy. We just don't care. There's no sense of, like, responsibility or compassion or kindness or understanding. It's become so cruel. I just don't understand it. It's like, so I just genuinely don't understand it, because it's like, so the Gypsy Roma Traveller community, there's so much bigotry towards them. People are vile. And why? Like, why? I just, and like, I know I'm just bringing up every issue under the sun here, but like, transphobia. There's all this hate against trans people. And it's like, have they even met trans people? I know so many trans people. Like, we're all just people. And I don't mean that to erase people's individual identities. I'm not doing like, oh, we're all exactly the same. Like, no, we're very diverse, and that's beautiful. Like, it's good that we're all different. But what I mean is that we all have value as individuals, right? I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand how people don't care about other people and they don't have kindness, and I just don't understand it. And I know I probably think about this like too personally. Like, I know I do think about this stuff a lot, but it frightens me. It frightened me to see all those people online saying, "Oh, I wish she'd mown them down with the car." Those are people. Like, they're like, "Oh yeah, they're lucky. If it was me, I would have gone right over them. They shouldn't have been in the road." But people don't, big atrocities happen, and smaller, just general awfulness happens in the world. I think when we lose touch with that, you got to try and keep your compassion. I know that not everyone can generate empathy, like I do understand that, but in terms of like just kindness and compassion, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know what else I can say. I get angry and I get confused, and I don't know how to make people feel. I don't know how to teach people. I don't know what went wrong. I don't know why people are like that. Like, I don't understand it. It's like the way people are about homeless people. You hear, like, there's homeless spikes, etc., to stop homeless people from, like, seeking shelter in doorways and things. But why? I mean, that's the bare minimum, like, to have a doorway to shelter under. That could be us. Like, any one of us could become homeless. At any point. I don't understand it. I mean, there was a couple of days ago, there was an awful incident. So, a Tory MP was stabbed at his GP, at his constituency. Like, he was doing, like, a political surgery, and he was stabbed. And this was so strange for me. Like, people were so, like, pouring out with compassion for him, which, they should have been, because, no matter what his politics were, like, I'm not saying he had good politics, because, he did do a lot of harm with his voting record. But, like, obviously, regardless of that, he's a human being, he's got a family, and, he's at work, and, no one should be stabbed, it's horrific. And I just think there's such selective empathy in this country. That's the most scary thing of all. Like, I think that's it. It's not even like a general lack of compassion. It's a selective thing. It's like people choose who to care for. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know why people don't care about each other. It's like when you talk about, like, human rights issues, and people will say, "Oh, going on about that again, are we?" And it's like, I don't know what you think this is. Do you think this is some sort of game? This is about people. This is just about people. It's about people's lives. Like, what do you think this is? A checkmate? I don't understand people. And there's I know you have to come to terms with it. Like, I do try and have hope for people. But there's something so awful about, like, sometimes you try, and you give kindness, and you give love, and you show people compassion, and you hope that somewhere in their mind, at some point, they're going to wake up and think, wait a minute, maybe there's a different way. But for some people, that just doesn't happen. It frightens me. The coldness frightens me. Like, I don't know, it just really, honestly scares me. It's like, I made videos before about, like, obviously a lot of protests were going on here. about like police issues, like police brutality, and then the police kind of like, the armed police went in and it became this thing, and they were like hitting the protesters with like batons and things. There were horses, there were dogs. That feels surreal. I remember watching that on live stream every night and thinking, oh, what am I watching? This is like, I've never seen anything like that in this country before. Like, I think because of social media and live stream and everything, like to actually see it so immediately, it was quite shocking. And that's another thing that just like, this is why I'm critical of like, when I say like the police and the army, I don't believe that people who are in the police or people who join the army are bad people. I think loads of them have really good intentions and are good people. But there comes a point when, if you're given a task to do which you think is morally wrong and that's going to hurt people, at what point do you take accountability and say, no, I'm not doing it? That's the line for me. Like, that's, you know, I don't think that, I'm not someone who thinks like, you know, oh God, all police are like terrible people, etc. Because I know that a lot of people go into the police because they want to help people. They want to help communities. Like, that's the ideal. That's the aim. Obviously, the reality of the institution itself, as we've found, is, you know, different. But that doesn't take away from people's motives. You know, there are a lot of good people that, you know, kind people that want to do that. But, you know, when I was seeing this, and I was just thinking in my head, the thing, it just really scared me, and it did make me think Nazis, just because I did that research. I know there's other examples in the world. Currently, there's lots. But the idea of, like, not questioning your order frightens me. What goes on in your mind when you think it's okay to baton peaceful protesters? When they, obviously when they manhandled the women at the Sarah Everard vigil. And it's, I don't understand it. How do people do that? If somebody said to you, like, this is the thing that scares me as well, like, is it just rules, societal rules, that stop people from doing stuff like that? Maybe it's not conscience. Because if, like, imagine if you could, like, if someone said to you, right, you can hit this person with a baton, and, like, it's fine, there's going to be no consequences, you can do it. I thought that most people probably wouldn't do it. Because I wouldn't do it. But I wonder how true that is. There's a lot of violence, pent-up anger in people, and I understand it. Like, I have a lot of pent-up anger too, but it's going in the wrong places. The media's whipping it up into the wrong places. Oh, God, it's horrifying. And this is the thing with the protest again, like, peaceful protesters. I know it's annoying, like, I know that. It's fine to be annoyed and be frustrated. You don't have to agree with it. You can be like, oh, I hate it, I hate the cause. But to actually support physical harm against those people, when did we make that leap? It stunned me. It absolutely stunned me. It honestly upsets me so much. I don't understand it. I don't understand that there are people in the world that you can give kindness to and compassion to, but they don't have it in them to even, like, be kind back. Like, is there something wrong with those people? Like, and I don't mean, again, like, if you don't hold empathy, that's not your fault. Some people just don't, but you're still, you know, good, kind people. I know of quite a few people who, like, have issues with empathy, just, like, understanding, etc. But they're still good people, you know. They still want to do the right thing and wouldn't mistreat people or be nasty. But some people, like, they seem to get a kick out of it. They seem to actually get a sadistic kick out of it. And I know it must come from a powerlessness. Like, I do understand that. I know that, and I talk about this in an abuse situation as well, but, like, if someone is abused or they're treated in a certain way, often they'll replicate the behaviour and they'll want to become the bully, and they become, like, it was weak to complain when I was younger, so I'm not going to complain, I'm going to inflict this on other people, and if you complain, you're weak. I understand where it comes from. I just despair of it. When does it end? Because these people will teach it to their kids. These people will teach the same coldness to their children. And then their children will... when does it stop? I just don't understand why people don't care about each other. I don't understand it. It's alien to me. I mean, like, for example, like, you know, think about, like, what I do on this channel. I talk about, like, mental health, etc. And sometimes you get people who are really, really vile. You know, like, you get some, like, strange trolls, etc. I know these people have their own issues. In some ways, it's not their fault, because they're, like... I know that people are unhappy and they project and they don't have, like, self-awareness, etc. Like, I understand that. But still, it's still, there's so much unkindness in this world. Like, I know it's like, it sounds like a really stupid thing to say, but why? Why aren't we teaching people that we all have the same value? Like, why are we, like, I mean, like, when you think about it, like, the fact that, you know, we, as Britain, you know, as a country, we use weapons in other countries. You know, we send bombs, we do this, we do that. We don't even think about it. We don't even think about where that's going, who's using it, who it's being used on, who it's going to kill, what that's going to do, what that's going to destabilise, the refugees that's going to create, the humanitarian crisis that's going to happen. And then often after we've created something and those people are desperate for help, we act like they're the nuisance and we say, let them drown. I wish people could just think. I wish people could just think, how would I feel if that was me? Some people just, I just don't. Some people just won't think like that. They won't feel compassion. They don't have it in them for some reason to care. I don't know. Really bothers me. It's actually got to a point where you will actually be mocked for being somebody that cares about people, and it makes you feel like you're insane for caring about people. People will say, oh, you know, you're a snowflake, etc. You're this, you're that. For caring about people. And I know it's because deep down inside those people, they feel bad because they don't feel that care for others. And I think in some ways it's like a bit of a misplaced jealousy. I do think that's one thing that people can hold on to, like, who do feel a lot of compassion for people and are kind, is that sometimes people will hate you because they won't understand it themselves, but really they feel envious because they know that they don't feel that kindness and they can't do that. They then kind of project it out and take it out on you, and it's really, like, messed up and it goes in the wrong place. You can kind of understand why, but, like, take strength in that because, you know, there is a strength in being kind. In being kind to people, and, like, there genuinely is. And obviously there's a difference between being kind and being good as well. Like, sometimes I get frustrated when someone says, like, oh, I'm a really kind person, but their kindness often means, like, not helping someone out when there's an injustice. Like, you know, those sort of people who say they're really kind, but they sit in the middle and they don't actually help anybody. And it's like, I'm kind because I get on with everyone. And sometimes I think if you get on with everyone, like, what do you stand for? I don't mean, like, to be horrible to people or anything like that, but I just mean, like, if you are everyone's friend, you know, if you're that sort of person, then, like, where do you stand? Like, because there are injustices in this world, and being good and being kind, like, they're obviously different things, you know. I think sometimes you do have to, sometimes you have to do something that might seem unkind in order to do something good. I do think that's true. Like, I don't want to shame anyone, like, oh, you're not being nice to people who are oppressing you. Like, no, I don't think that. But when I say, like, being kind, like, I just mean thinking about, like, that's another person. That is another person, and keeping that in your mind, and just knowing that when you're, you know, that is another person. Is that, I just thought that was just, I thought that was a normal way to think. And I've started to realise that that's less and less so now. That's less. And it just enables people to be cold and cruel and unkind, and it's not even, I guess it is upsetting, but it's also, it's frightening and fascinating. Like, I'm compelled by it. I think I try and understand it, because I try and think, is there a way through that? Like, is there, surely the way some people act and the way they think and the way they behave, surely that can't be real, right? Surely it's a front. Otherwise they'd have to be just what's on the inside of them. Like, I don't know, it makes you question everything, but I think we're encouraging in this country, like, we are encouraging a lack of empathy and a lack of, sorry if I keep using empathy, I know some people can't generate empathy, I mean kindness and compassion. But we encourage that. You know, the media encourages it with the way that when an oppressed person stands up against something, like, if someone talks about racism, like for example, a footballer might talk about racism they've experienced, and we automatically, as a country, it's like the media, like, bullies them and targets them. Like, and I don't say, you don't always have to agree with people, like, obviously you don't, like, there's loads of people I don't agree with, you don't have to agree with that at all, like, what the person's saying. But the fact that there's a bullying instinct, a tabloid instinct, knock them down now, knock them down, get them. And then we have these weird be kind campaigns, like, oh, let's talk about our mental health, while the government that people are voting in and telling us to be kind to are defunding the mental health system so people are dying. I just don't get that. You have this be kind thing going on by the same people who do this. I know there's a difference between being kind and being good. It just makes me wonder, you know, what is kindness? I mean, how are we defining that? Like, to me, I guess it means treating other people, like, as people, you know? As with basic respect. Like, there's loads of people, like, genuinely, recently, there's, like one of the big Tories, I think it was Dominic Raab, I'm not sure, was getting really angry because we were being held to account, like, for human rights laws, and he didn't want us to go along with the human rights laws. And people agreed with him. And why? Why don't you want us to go along with human rights laws? Why? I don't understand it. I don't understand people. I don't understand the situation with Palestine. I don't understand it. I just feel so emotionally that, like, when you see dead kids, you see that happening. People's homes being taken, like, you know, like apartheid, like, you see that stuff happening. How do you not have an emotional response to that? Why does having an emotional response to that make you weak? Why does that make your perspective less valid because you have an emotional response? I'm not saying it makes you more valid. Again, some people don't emote that much. It doesn't make them any lesser. But why do you get judged as like, oh, you're hysterical, you're thinking too emotionally? Why wouldn't you think emotionally about other people and human issues? Like, why not? Why is that wrong? I just think the world would be better if we did think about those things. I don't know, it just shocks me. Really just, I don't know what to say. Like, I talk to Dan about it sometimes. And we just don't get it. You know, oh, gosh, I don't know. Like, you see it in people, like, obviously there's individuals who act a certain way. But to see it on such a large scale, you know, in like a society, encouraged, it's maddening. It's like mass gaslighting, because you know that, like, whistleblowers, etc., are always going to get kicked down. The media's going to go at them, etc. Anyone who challenges that status quo is going to get kicked down. The media will engage in that. They'll whip the public into a frenzy. They'll manipulate. And then when somebody commits suicide, etc., they'll be like, oh, we need to do something about online hate. We need to do something about this. And it's like, you know what you're doing. They're trying at the moment. MPs, like, they want to, because that poor man got stabbed, they want to name, like, an anti-misogyny law after him to make, like, to stop anonymous accounts online, I think. I'm not sure. First of all, I'm not sure they should name an anti-misogyny law after him. Because he spent much of his time, you know, voting against abortion rights. So, you know, I'm not, you know, it's an absolute terrible tragedy what happened to him. You know, it's a really awful thing to happen, but I don't think that would necessarily be right, to be honest. I think it would be, I don't think it's correct. I don't think you have to wipe out someone's history and contribution because they've tragically died. Like, you can still feel that awful human compassion and think, that was terrible, that should never have happened. We have to make sure that doesn't happen again, but you don't have to, you know, suddenly make out like, you know, it was all fine, the anti-gay stuff was fine, because, you know, it wasn't fine. But he never deserved what happened to him, though. I mean, absolutely awful. Like, and they want to, like, ban anonymous accounts online. Because, I understand, like, first of all, in some ways I think that would be bad, because a lot of people need that, like, who are in, like, situations of abuse, etc. Like, they need that to reach out. LGBT people who aren't out, etc., like, to access support. But further than that as well, I don't like the way they're pinning it. Like, it's like they're kind of, the politicians, the media, etc., they know that they're doing this. Like, they know they're whipping this up. They are pulling the strings here. They know what they're doing, what they're growing, like, what they're playing on, how they're scaring people, making people go into austerity. People panic. People can't cope. People need a villain. Like, they don't know what to do. Always, if people are kept in that situation like that, you know, if the services are underfunded, these things are going to happen. There's going to be resentments and anger, and it's got to go somewhere. But they're now pointing at social media as if anonymous troll accounts are the cause of that. I'm not saying the anonymous troll accounts are okay, obviously. Like, I've had terrible trolling and stuff, and, like, it needs to stop. But that's not the cause, is it? Like, it's more of a like, the people at the top are doing more damage. Because they know what they're doing. They're doing that. That feels like gaslighting as well. And apparently they don't want to make MPs' voting records available to us now. Which, I read that this morning, I thought it was a joke. I honestly thought it was a joke. I thought it was one of those parody things, and then it was true. Apparently that constitutes online hate now, to look at an MP's voting record. That's literally their job. They're literally voted in democratically to carry out the will of their constituents because they've been democratically elected. Why would a record of their vote, which is literally part of their job, not be something the public could see? I want people to wake up so badly. Like, I feel like we're living in some sort of nightmare. And I don't mean, like, obviously we're so privileged here. When I think about what's going on in Palestine, for example, when I think about Afghanistan, when I think about these people, and I get so angry because I feel like we don't do enough to help them. Like, I get so angry with people that say, oh, you know, we have to look after our own first. I don't think it's not that we shouldn't look after our own, but those people are our own too. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they're our own. We're all just people. But, you know, there is enough. There's enough to go around. The rich people, there's a lot of rich people with a lot of offshore accounts, there's billionaires, etc. There's enough. There is enough for everyone. It's not either or. Oh, I just think about it, and when I say that we're in like a nightmare situation, it's that I don't mean it's got like to terrible stages. I mean that like, I can see it tipping, and I've been seeing it tipping for years, and COVID's made it worse. COVID's tipped it. Everyone's kind of like, everyone's still in a bit of shock because of COVID, and I feel like that's been manipulated by politicians. I don't buy into the fact that they're saying because this poor guy got stabbed that, oh, you're not allowed to be angry at politicians. Well, no, you should be angry at politicians and hold them to account. I mean, you shouldn't be violent, obviously. Like, you know, nobody deserves to, like, get stabbed at their place of work. But them trying to make it into a, you know, oh, people, this is anger against MPs can't stand. Well, no, I mean, it can. Obviously it can. There's a difference, isn't there, between anger, which is a good, like, sometimes anger can be a good human emotion because it can be anger about injustice. And it can create change. And most of the movements, you know, that we've had that have helped our world have come from a place of anger and also a place of compassion, but a lot of people always want to play down the anger. They only ever want to talk about the compassion part. But yeah, I don't know, I'm just worried about a lot of stuff. So that's why I made the video. I hope you're all doing okay. I'm kind of up and down mental health wise right now, as you can probably tell. I'm still not at the makeup stage yet, but I'm sure I will return soon. I know this top's a bit big for me. I don't know if anyone will even, like, I don't know, sometimes I get like hyper aware because sometimes like randomly a video will get big and then sometimes you'll get people like, why is she wearing that? Like, what? I've lost a lot of weight recently, so I'm under 6 stone now, so I kind of obviously had a breakdown, so I really seriously am very skinny now, so that's the thing. That's why. But I love you loads, and I will see you really soon, and I don't know what to do about this. Like, I don't know. It's scary that people don't feel compassion for you. Like, to realise that people lack that those very basic things. But the worst thing is they don't even realise their deficit. They don't realise that. They don't, and I don't mean someone who can't feel it, because some people can't feel it, but they're still able to act kindly. They're still able to act with compassion, you know? They're still able to not do these things. Some people just, oh my God, it frightens me. These people are walking around. These people are walking among us. And everyone, you know, like when this MP was stabbed, it was awful. There was quite a lot of racism, and people were like, oh, it was Somalian. Actually, it was a British national, but they were like, oh, African appearance, Somalian. And people were making tweets like, oh, unsurprising, these people are allowed to walk all around us. How terrifying. What actually terrifies me more than that, or the same amount as that really, are all those people that just don't care. Really. Because I wonder if you took away... If you took away laws, etc., like if you took away certain things, how would they act? Because if you look at how bold they are now, it shocked me. It shocked me. Like, once it becomes socially acceptable, suddenly people start saying things that they think, and you just sit there and think, what? What? Like, I don't know. Anyway, I love you loads. See you soon. I hope you like my, I don't know if you can see it properly. I've got like the Wives of Henry VIII mug. Where's my Anne? Is that Anne? Yes, it is. Okay, I love you loads. I'll see you really soon. And, yeah, hope you're well. Okay, love you. Bye.